Dan Pena is an entrepreneur, author, and speaker best known for his tough love approach to coaching. He went from growing up in a tough neighborhood, often being beaten by his father and jailed for alcoholic incidents, to starting his business with only $820 and now helping entrepreneurs around the world. Need motivation?
Watch the Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Dan Pena, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Take action.
Most of you have been taught taking action is listening to a podcast. Taking action is reading a book. Taking action is taking a course online. No. Taking action is pulling the trigger. You know, I say in 4 words what most people say in a book. Just do it. That's taking action. You don't get the third pretty girl to say yes to buy her a drink unless you ask her, right?
Rule number 2, build high self-esteem.
The high performance people that we've alluded to so far during this interview don't hang out, don't go to the Super Bowl, they work 15, 18-hour days, have no friends. I mean, what does it take? A sledgehammer to hit the kid in the head to understand that they're doing the antithesis of that. They're doing the absolute opposite of that. And that's why their results are de minimis. They're not worth a shit. And, but the kids today, and what I believe the political correctness movement, which is a manifestation of lack of self-esteem. It's hard to find anybody with self-esteem. And it's doubly hard to find somebody with self-esteem who's got some balls. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty, next to impossible. One of the reasons we started boxing at the seminars is that some of the kids had never been hit. Some of the kids had never been slapped. And so to see the fear in their eyes when they get ready to get up in the ring, it's quite remarkable. It's hard for me to believe that you can be 35 years old and never been in one confrontation in your whole life.
Rule number 3, keep your promises.
I heard this, you telling this story once. I'm not sure if it was in one of your free YouTube videos that you put out or if it was in an interview. This is kind of related, but it's more related towards commitment. You'd been in a dune buggy accident. Yeah. And then you had a meeting.
I almost killed myself.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I was, it was Easter 1999, and I'm racing dune buggies with my 2 sons down in Cabo San Lucas. And I hit a rock. Anyway, serious accident, no seat belts, no headgear. And I shattered my collarbone, broke most of my ribs, punctured my liver, my spleen, and almost dead. But I had a meeting in 3 days in Frankfurt, Germany with Klaus Kleinfeld, who is now the CEO of Nuam, the new $500 billion project in Saudi Arabia. It's actually a joint venture with Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt. And so I got myself patched up, almost died, and I flew from LAX to Frankfurt. And one of my still longtime assistants, Vinica, picked me up, and I'm in a wheelchair, and they wheel me, and it has one of these space blankets, these shiny blankets that keep you warm, and my head is cocked over to the side because I couldn't straighten it out. Yeah. And so Klaus and a couple other luminaries were standing there, and Kleinfeld says, "God Almighty, Dan, why are you here, and what happened to you?" And so I said, "Vinica, straighten my head up." So she pulls me by the ear like this, and I said, "I told you I'd be here, Klaus. Unless I'm dead or in a coma. Mm-hmm. When I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it." Mm-hmm. But to see, then I expect you, to do the same. We had a girl in intensive care, one of my mentees, who was dying up in Portland, Oregon, and supposed to be on a call. She sent a photograph of her in intensive care dying that the doctors took to send it to me. Why? She says, I'm going in and out of a coma. See, but unless you're dead or no, not your mother's coma, not your mother's death, your death, your coma. And the people that I know and had the privilege do the same. Just as when I say I'm going to fuck you up, I mean I'm going to fuck you up. And when President Trump or these guys say they're going to fuck you up, that's exactly what they mean. They're going to fuck you up. Just like the cricket bat, 15, 16 people that I fucked up, they mean it. Not like these wuss, wannabes.
Snowflakes, right?
Snowflakes.
Rule number 4, push yourself.
Because my current star, if you will, who happens to be in active duty military, as the young man here, just broke the record for getting 2 deals closed in 117 days, while he's active duty military, while on duty, in his free time. So I know what can be done when you press yourself. One of the young men that I talked to earlier said something about to the effect that I didn't realize how innovative, these are my words, he's less articulate. I didn't realize how innovative I could be to come up with the money to come here until I had to. You don't know what you're capable of. I do. For those of you that are parents, I used to use the example with your wife, but your spouse, but I don't use that anymore. And somebody stuck a gun in the mouth of your child. You got 72 hours to do so-and-so, or I'm going to blow the little kid's head off. Guess how innovative you get? If it's your wife, kick the bitch to the curb, you don't give a shit. If it's a husband, the same thing. What gets measured gets accomplished.
Also, if you want to have unstoppable confidence and self-love, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
But no one does know initially, up front. You have to try. You have to swing at the plate. A kid like you, if you had to keep track of 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, what you do, you want people with a like mind and that are better than you, smarter than you, more intelligent than you to get on your bus.
Rule number 5, play the numbers game.
How can it be if entrepreneurs go to the bank and won't get the money? What are the reasons?
It's a numbers game. For those of you that I'm going to say it as a guy because I can't relate to this as a woman. A guy is 20 pretty girls. Okay, the first one that you asked out on a date, or can I buy you a drink? Do guys still buy drinks for girls at bars? Yeah? Okay. We haven't sunk that low yet, okay? So the first one may not want you to buy her a drink, right? The way some of you look, I can't see, you'd have to pay them money to buy you a drink, buy them a drink. By the way, you only have 2 times to make a first impression. First is how you look. Second is when you open your big mouth. Most of you won't ask the girl if you can buy them a drink because you get nervous. You step on your. It's a numbers game. There are, last time I counted, there's about 300 banks in the Netherlands. 315, I think. I used to ask, how many have made a presentation to a banker today, this week, this month, this year, ever? 4 hands went up, 5 hands. That's about right. 5 out of 250 people, that's about right. So how can you tell me this doesn't work? because you've been scared by other pundits or things that you read about or things that you listen to on the news not to do it. And even though and you go on the website and you can see all these kids that are not 15, they look 15, but they're 25, that are getting money just as he did 20 years ago. And it's easier than it was then because there's, number one, interest rates are significantly lower than when he did it. And number two, there's about 100 times more money in the banks than trying to push out the door than when he did it. He did it at a hard time. Interest rates were high. And the financial constraints, or the lack of financial constraints, let me back up. Another thing that keeps people from doing it is the crash of 2008, 2009, 2010. You've all read about that, heard about it, right? That's all horseshit. It happened, but it's not happening now. That's like saying for you, those of you that are old enough to have grandparents from the Depression, it happened, but it's not happening now. For those of you that have grandparents that fought in the war, you know, against the Nazis, it happened, but it's not happening now.
Rule number 6, take control.
In World War I, the Battle of the Somme, they've got a little young British lieutenant, and he, okay, lads, have a smoke, and they're having some Dutch courage. They have a drink before they're going to go over the top, knowing that 1 out of every 3 is going to be dead, and 1 out of 3 will be wounded or maimed, and 1 will live. And you're in the ditches here, and it's, you know, and you're walking around in shit because there's no toilets, and he blows the whistle. Okay, lads, over the top. Nobody's following you over nothing. Now, why would all these guys follow this little skinny guy he's got a little swagger stick under his arm, right? A little whistle and a little pistol. Why? Well, a lot of training. Leadership. And when you have that, oh, God forbid, that first board meeting, I mean, and you go to, and you swallow the whistle, I can't emphasize it enough. You got to take control.
Rule number 7, sacrifice.
I know one of the questions, why are you so hard on the kids? Because it works. Because it works. Toughness works. And if love got the job done, we wouldn't be having this interview. Tough works. Do you see people collecting gold medals at the Olympics? Didn't sacrifice everything for 10 years, 15 years? No. Do you see anybody that, you know, have all these world records that hasn't sacrificed their entire life? No. Then why do the meatheads that are going to watch this podcast think for a microsecond that they can achieve anything worthwhile without massive sacrifice? They're delusional.
Rule number 8, expand your comfort zone.
Most people don't want to get out of the comfort zone. They're comfortable. And the Netherlands is a great place to be comfortable at, you know. I know. I mean, I've been here since the early middle 90s. But see, I remember what Amsterdam and Rotterdam looked like in 1952 and 53. I was here then as well, as a little kid. Flat, bombed out. You could pick up Nazi war helmets in the rubble. Almost as, this is an exaggeration, but almost as flat as this stage. When I was here from beginning of 52 to the end of 53. During the Korean War, my dad was an army officer, and he was able to bring his dependents here, and we were stationed in France. But Berlin, I mean, most of Europe was flat. See, so I know what it looked like. I know what it looks like now. But the people that had the big, much more expanded comfort zones were your grandparents, the Germans. You know, and they had hard times. But I mean, you haven't fought anybody except your waistline. And most of you are losing that battle. You haven't done shit. You know, what do you want your legacy to be? Some of you don't even want to talk. It's another thing you don't want to talk about. What's your legacy going to be? You know, when I tell students and groups, if I were you, anybody in the audience, and I could see a 17-year-old kid, multimillionaire, flying in his jet plane, I'd be embarrassed. Teenager, no education, homeschooled, one of 10 kids, in how can you, I don't care how you justify, I don't care what bullshit you can tell yourself, you can't bullshit yourself enough to overcome a teenage multimillionaire in his own jet. You can lie to yourself from now until Christmas, and you can't bullshit yourself over that. And that's only one kid. I got a jillion of them. What are you going to do? Now, I say this metaphorically because my lawyers say I can't do it anymore. Most of you ought to just take a thing, boom, blow the top of your heads off, and then let Michael pray for you. What are you going to do?
Rule number 9, don't demonize money.
And why haven't you accrued any money? Because this is how you were raised, most of you. Money's dirty. Money's not important. Other values more important. So how do you ever get here? You don't. There's some people sitting in this room, and for sure on YouTube, that in the last, over the holidays, they heard money's dirty, or a derivative thereof. We don't need money. Things are more important. And that's why the millennials are. For those of you that want to save the world, go create something, a service, a product that changes 1 billion lives, i.e. Zuckerberg and Facebook. By definition, you'll change the world, and by definition, you'll become not instantly, but you'll create generational wealth, and that's what we're here to do.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is do whatever it takes.
Throughout the past days, and especially yesterday, I honed in on the fact that your sales skills, and my sales skills I developed from door to door to selling governments, ultimately. Obviously making more money every time I upgraded my prospect. Some of you, most of you, equate sales, as I just said the day before yesterday, with car salesmen, insurance salesmen, door-to-door salesmen. Hence, even though on a conscious level you might not think of it that way, at a subconscious level you have disdain for sales. This is a sales program, 100%. It's nothing more. We're like a 5-pound hooker standing at a corner with our dress up. Nothing more. We're whores. Nothing more. And if you can't swallow that, pun intended, swallow that, you're going to have a hard time with this. I collect frogs. I have probably 300 frogs, probably more. I have frog ties, I have frog cufflinks, which I'm not wearing today. Why do I? Because I know, for me, default is to stop kissing frogs. Kissing frogs meaning turning over rocks, looking for deals, looking for mentees, looking for devotees, looking for money. The reason that I was able to raise as much money during several major declines, not the least of which was the first decline when oil went from $41 a barrel to $6 a barrel, is because I wore not my feet out, my knees out, crawling around begging for money. Begging for money. Begging like a beggar in the street. Because I had no pride. Most people can't do that. In fact, hardly any people can do it. But the ones that come closest to being able to beg for money are up there. Because you think of the word beg, you think of homeless and all the things that go associated with it. And now they call it sleeping rough. Sleeping rough to me was having sex with 3 girls at the same time. That was sleeping rough to me. But now it's all, sleeping rough means you're in the street, you're sleeping on a park bench or some bullshit. If you don't kiss frogs, and this is just yet another gift from somebody, I mean, some of you will equate kissing frogs with kissing ass. And your parents didn't tell you to be an ass kisser, did they? Anybody in this room, their mother or father say, be an ass kisser, be a brown noser? I don't think so. And by the way, here's a picture, pass it around. This is a picture of Shekels in his prime. Every class has got a whipping boy and a whipping girl. Look at, it's hard to believe that he used to look like that, you know? You know what I'm saying? It's hard to believe. And so, but I've kissed so many frogs, turned over so many stones, knocked on so many doors, I've been spit on, slapped, doors slammed in my face. But I just kept going door to door. Because to me, default of being poor was not acceptable. I'd rather be dead. Now see, some of you say you'd rather be dead than poor. You're full of shit. There's not a person in this room, and only that many people in 26 years in this room that would rather be dead than poor. Life is precious, right? Not to me, not if I'm going to be poor. I've been rich and I've been poor, and there's no comparison. Sally and I would rather somebody put a bullet in our head than be poor again. Sally lived in a caravan about this. This is no caravan about this big. Family of 6. I was rich compared to her, as she would tell you, after a couple of champagnes, which isn't exactly accurate, but it's okay after all these years. But you gotta kiss frogs.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video, and what are you going to do to take action on it this week? When you write down what day, what time, and what place you're going to take action on something, you have a 91% chance of following through versus just 35% if you got motivated but never wrote down a plan. And when you share your plan and have public accountability, it raises your chances of following through even higher. So that's what I want to do today for you guys. You watch this video, what was your single biggest takeaway, and what is your plan to take action on it this week? Let me know. Put it down in the comments below.
What would you say to that guy or girl? They're in their bedroom, they're watching this interview, you know, they've watched all the way through.
Hopefully, if it's 2 of them together, they had sex first, and then, you know, go ahead.
And they're watching it, and they're like, well, they're alone. Let's say they're alone, they're feeling sad or depressed, and they don't really know what to do or, you know, where to turn, right? What's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
If you're not passionate about what you're doing, change. But the thing that high performers understand, there's never an easy time to make a hard decision. Mm-hmm. It's never going to get easier, kids. Mm-hmm. The beginning of a year is a good time for change. You know, the first 30 or so days, it's good for change. It's hard to keep that change, but and you absolutely need to be exposed to people that are where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And that's not the current 5 monkeys that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Okay, better to deal with nobody. The reason why you need to be around somebody, because you're a victim of life. You're leading a quiet life of desperation. All the material is on my site. Go to QLA for Dummies and start with number 1. You don't have to, I'm not selling anything. And whether you're 17, we've had them as old as 77. There's hope.
If you want to change your life for free in the next 30 days, check the link right here below me. Or if you want 10 more awesome rules from Dan Pena, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy them. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.